This girl had a key that could lead to any place in the world. It could turn an ordinary door into a magical door, like in a comic book. However, the girl did not use the key for good purposes but used it to eat without paying. She took out the key to unlock the bathroom door. The light behind the door was dazzling. She teleported directly to a clothing store. After changing into a new set of clothes, she inserted the key into the fitting room's lock. This time, the girl went to a jewelry store and smashed the glass case. The alarm bell immediately rang. At this time, the girl was thousands of miles away from that jewelry store and put on the necklace. The next day, the girl used the same method to eat breakfast without paying. This time, the girl still opened the door, but the scene behind the door was no longer a clothing store, but a burned-out room. The girl went straight to the safe and found that there were only a few burned books inside. She immediately became unhappy. Just when the girl thought that this trip would not bring any benefits, she suddenly discovered that the boy outside had picked up the things she needed. She suggested that the two of them exchange keys to take a look. Then, she took the key to open the door. The girl suddenly snatched the key and pushed the boy inside. Then, she acted as if nothing had happened and closed the door. The other two boys were scared and ran away. The girl didn't pay any attention to this. She returned to Bode's house to thank the boy for giving her the key that could open all doors. When the girl saw the third key on the sofa, she was very excited. Just now, she'd just picked up the key in the fire. Now, she had another key. Today was truly her lucky day. But Bode's expression was very tense. It turned out that he had set a trap under the key. Bode wanted to use it to prevent her from taking the key. Suddenly, a thud sounded, was pulled out of his memory. But at the moment, the girl was not trapped by Bode. It turned out that she had already seen that this key was fake. She had only done it on purpose to make Bode feel disappointed. She threatened Bode to find another key and give it to her. Otherwise, when she came back, she would kill everyone. Bode paced back and forth in the house uneasily. After thinking for a while, he decided to take the mind key he picked up yesterday and insert it into the back of his neck. His body immediately froze, and behind him appeared a boy who looked exactly like Bode, along with a mysterious box. Bode curiously opened it. The colorful things inside were exactly what Bode had always thought about. He excitedly pulled his older brother and sister over to take a look. Inside, there was a person jumping excitedly on the bed. That was Bode's happy feeling. The iron boxes were lined up on the table, containing his memories. Bode opened one at random. Unexpectedly, they saw their deceased father inside. Older sister Kinsey wanted to touch her father, but unfortunately, this was just a simulation. Bode, his older brother, and sister had different feelings when they witnessed this. The three of them silently leaned against the door, listening to their father tell the story they had heard countless times when they were young. Then, they returned to the room and took the key off Bode's neck. Everything around them immediately returned to normal. Seeing this, Kinsey quickly took the key away. She said she wanted to borrow it for a while. It turned out that Kinsey was a very insecure person. She was afraid to greet her classmates. She was also afraid to show herself. When it was time for lunch, Kinsey hid in the dark room alone to eat. She didn't dare to respond to the confession of the person she liked. So after Kinsey got the mind key, she immediately went inside her brain, because inside there was a person who represented the emotion of fear. That person was ugly, cruel, and even hurt her older brother, Tyler and Kinsey, and entered her brain. Kinsey didn't want to be controlled by this emotion anymore, so she took a knife and a sack, went inside her brain again, and killed the person who represented the emotion of fear. From then on, Kinsey became a different person. She started to dye her hair, wear makeup, and had a radiant aura. Kinsey even expressed her feelings to her crush. Her happiness index skyrocketed. This made Tyler crave it, so he also wanted to get the mind key. But Tyler didn't want to kill his fear, but he wanted to put something inside. He conveniently picked up a history book and threw it into the world behind the door of his brain. Immediately, Tyler memorized the content of the book. Tyler had this treasure. He would definitely pass the university entrance exam. Kinsey and Tyler liked this magical key so much that they didn't want to return it, so they urged Bode to find more keys. Every day, Bode walked around the room. One day, the boy heard a whisper again. This voice was coming from the painting of his ancestors. Bode moved a chair over and searched carefully above the painting. Sure enough, Bode found a skull-shaped key on it. What function did this key have? He looked at the skull on it. Suddenly, Bode remembered that his house's door also had this symbol. After Bode thought for a while, he inserted the key into the door. After he opened the door, nothing had changed outside, so he wanted to lift his feet and go out. But suddenly, he fainted on the ground. Bode's soul was drifting in the air again. It turned out that this was the key that separated the soul from the body. Bode flew excitedly in the air, enjoying the feeling of freedom. Then, he flew to his ancestral grave. There, Bode saw an ancestor named Chamberlain. He told Bode that his father and Duncan had also been here. Although they had also used the key, Bode's father had never told him about it. Bode immediately realized that his family seemed to have some big secret. A few days later, there was another whispering sound of a key in the house. This time, all three people in the Bode family heard it. Very quickly, they found the key inside the piano. Kinsey discovered that as long as the key was inserted into the music box, it could command others. Kinsey tried to order Tyler to slap himself. Unexpectedly, he actually did it. The appearance of the key made Kinsey very happy. The next day, she brought the key to school. Kinsey wanted to teach a girl who had always bullied her a lesson. Kinsey read the girl's name to the music box. Kinsey said, "Eden Hucken," fell flat on his face. Eden immediately fell in front of many people. She awkwardly picked up the food and put it back in her bowl, then stood up and walked back to her seat as if nothing had happened. Gabe, who was not far away, was interested in this. He picked up the music box and gave Eden another order. She climbed onto the dining table and danced in front of many people. The surrounding classmates took out their phones to record it. Scott felt a little guilty when he saw the order getting more and more outrageous, so he asked Kinsey and Gabe to stop, but Kinsey gradually got excited and couldn't stop. Soon, Eden's embarrassing video was posted online. Tyler naturally saw it too. He immediately realized that Kinsey was using the musical key. He asked Kinsey to hand over the key. Tyler also blamed her for being too outrageous. But Kinsey not only didn't listen to her older brother, but also argued with him. The two argued until evening. When they had just stopped arguing, they suddenly heard whispering outside. There was clearly another key calling them. The two followed the sound to the cemetery. They found the memory key on a tombstone. But which lock could this key open? At this time, Tyler discovered a tree not far away that was emitting light. The two of them inserted the key into it without hesitation. Light immediately spread throughout the cemetery. More than 10 glowing jars emerged from the ground. Those jars contained all of Uncle Duncan's memories. That was the reason why Duncan couldn't remember anything from the past. Tyler and Kinsey also discovered a truth in one of the memory jars. Their father had once killed a friend. The two were shocked to know this because the three dead people had been investigated as drowning. Kinsey could not accept this fact. She directly brought the memory jar to find Duncan. But Duncan had just picked up the jar and looked at it when his head hurt so much that he could not bear it. He had just let go of the memory jar and then forgot what had just happened. Kinsey had to study these memories herself. Finally, she discovered a very special memory of Duncan. It was the day her father and his friend went to the beach. It seemed that there was something in the sea that surprised Duncan. At this moment, Bode suddenly came to find Kinsey and Tyler. The boy also said that the woman had arrived. Before they could react, all the lights in the house exploded. The girl went to the kitchen and used the fire key to turn on the stove. While Tyler and Kinsey were putting out the fire, the girl secretly took Bode away. Then she brought the boy into the sea of fire. The girl kept threatening Bode to give up the key. Bode clearly saw that the key was right in front of her, but she didn't take it. He was aware that he had to hand it over to her. The girl who was exposed by Bode didn't get angry. Indeed, she had no way to take the key from the Locke family, but that didn't mean she couldn't find help. Then, the girl walked out of the fire. She used the key that could lead to any door to go inside. She immediately went to the central prison. Then, the girl gave the fire key to a prisoner. This person was the one who killed Bode's father. With the help of the fire key, he successfully turned the prison into a sea of fire. The prisoner easily escaped. After escaping, he immediately went to Locke's house. When his mother Nina saw him, she immediately remembered the tragic days. His name was Sam, a student of the father Rendell. But because Sam had borderline personality disorder, he was fascinated by Dodge and had to listen to her. Then, Sam followed Dodge's orders to find Rendell and force him to hand over the key. But because the key could not fall into the wrong hands, Rendell would rather die than give the key to Sam. Kinsey and Bode heard the noise and were preparing to go upstairs. Unexpectedly, they coincidentally met Sam. They became his hostages. Sam also found the keys to the music box, memory and mirror, but did not have the mind key he wanted. Kinsey quickly lied that the key was in Tyler's hands, so Sam gently made dinner for them and waited for Tyler to come home. Meanwhile, Kinsey kept asking Sam questions. Finally, they found out that the woman's name was Dodge. At this time, Tyler also returned home. He saw Sam kidnapping his family. He was so angry that he rushed over, but Sam had the fire key, so Tyler was no match for him. Kinsey saw that the situation was getting worse, so she said that she had hidden the key. Then she led Sam to a forest. Of course, this place actually had no key. This was where Kinsey had buried the negative emotion that she had killed earlier. But Kinsey did not expect that the negative emotion had not died. On the contrary, it jumped out of the ground and fought with Sam. Kinsey took the opportunity to take her older brother and escape. At the same time, Tyler, who was tied up, fell backwards. He smashed the chair to escape the bondage. Then, Tyler tore the puppet on the table to pieces and took out the mind key inside. Sam quickly escaped from the monster and returned to the house. He discovered that Tyler and his mother had escaped, but he was sure that Tyler and his mother were still hiding in in the house, so he searched every room. Sam was completely unaware that danger was approaching. Nina quietly rushed out from behind and stabbed him in the neck with scissors. At this moment, Tyler suddenly appeared and stabbed the key into his neck. Sam's body immediately froze. Sam's soul appeared beside him and was extremely frightened. Sam even showed his repentance. Tyler took the opportunity to start advising him not to be charmed by Dodge anymore. When Tyler was about to successfully advise Sam, Nina suddenly became interested in the mind door. Then she prepared to go behind the door to see Sam's mind world. Tyler quickly stepped forward to stop her. Sam took the opportunity to remove the key and regain control of his body. Coincidentally, Dodge also arrived at Key House at this time. She gently pushed Tyler and Nina down. After that, she ordered Sam to hand over the key, but after Tyler adjusted Sam's thinking, he couldn't help but feel a little shaken. Sam didn't immediately hand over the key. Dodge lost his patience, resolutely stabbed him, and then took all the keys. Sam couldn't believe that he had done so much for Dodge, but in the end, she had the heart to kill him. Dodge didn't care about Sam's feelings. She was only concerned with using the key to lead to everywhere and then teleporting to a place thousands of miles away. At this time, the police also arrived. Sam was unwilling to end it like this. He stood up and walked towards the door closest to him, but unexpectedly, as soon as he stepped out, his soul and flesh separated. Sam became a wandering ghost in the air. It turned out that the soul key was still stuck in the door and hadn't been removed. When the police arrived, they thought Sam was dead, so they closed the door. Thus, Sam officially became a wandering soul. Dodge got the key to the nursing home. She went to find a woman with Alzheimer's. This woman was Rendell's high school classmate. She was also one of the first people to use the key. Dodge then inserted the mind key into the woman's neck. The door to her mind immediately appeared, but her soul did not appear. Although Dodge was suspicious, she did not think much of it. She went straight into the woman's mind. It was extremely quiet, no one was there, but Dodge was not surprised by this. She went straight to the deepest part of the corridor. Here, she saw the room containing the woman's memories. Dodge's purpose this time was to find the whereabouts of the Omega key. The result did not disappoint Dodge. She discovered that the key was hidden in Rendell's place through the images in the memory box. At this moment, a shout suddenly rang out from behind her. It turned out to be the woman's soul. She was locked in her own mental world. No wonder the woman had Alzheimer's. Dodge was interested in talking to her. At the same time, Tyler and Kinsey had lost the key, so they decided to take a risk. They went to the sea cave that their father had explored. Here, they saw an unbelievable scene. There was a stone door that was emitting a blue light. The condition to open the stone door seemed to be the Omega key. The two discovered a stone beside them. The names of the guardians of the key were engraved on the stone. These people were Rendell and his friends. Among them, only Aaron and Ellie were still alive. But Ellie naturally wouldn't help Tyler and Kinsey because she hadn't lied to them before. The only person they could hope for was Aaron, but Aaron had Alzheimer's disease. After thinking carefully, the two of them still decided to try their luck, but Kinsey's actions were a step too late. She coincidentally passed by Dodge. Kinsey took out the photo and asked Aaron, wanting to find some clues from her. Aaron tried her best to say a piece of news. Ellie's boyfriend Lucas was actually Dodge. Kinsey hurried home to tell Tyler this news, but coincidentally, the two of them saw their mother get drunk and smash their father's urn. It turned out that the events of the past 2 days were so bizarre that Nina's spirit collapsed. Kinsey understood her mother's feelings very well. She comforted Nina and used her actions to prove that she was always by her mother's side. After that, Kinsey went downstairs to explain about Dodge, but Tyler suddenly discovered something unexpected. There was a key hidden in her father's urn. The key was clearly shaped like an Omega symbol. There was a lock under Dodge's chin. She inserted the key without hesitation. At this moment, her face changed and transformed into another person. In the blink of an eye, a beautiful girl had transformed into a young man. Ellie was shocked when she got home because this young man was her boyfriend who had died for many years. At night, Ellie secretly took a gun from the truck. Ellie took advantage of Dodge's distraction to shoot 8 bullets straight at her. But surprisingly, Dodge did not die at all. On the contrary, Ellie's reckless actions made her even more furious. After Dodge was revived by the Echo Key, she had an immortal body. Ellie leaned against the wall, trembling, and no longer dared to resist. The next day, Dodge ordered her to go to Locke's house to find the Omega Key, but Ellie was not willing to work for Dodge, so she packed her bags and took her son to escape. Unexpectedly, Ellie's son understood this very well. He had eavesdropped on the conversation between Dodge and his mother. Plus, there had been many strange things happening recently. The son Rufus also knew clearly the consequences of running away. He advised Ellie to abandon the evil forces and cooperate with the Locke family to deal with Dodge. In order to increase his mother's confidence, Rufus also found the keys that Dodge had hidden. That way, they would have a better chance of winning. So that night, night, Ellie went to Locke's house to tell all the truth. That year, Rendell and his friends had gone to the sea cave to explore. They had discovered a dark door, but at that time, they had been confident that they had a magic key to protect them. Rendell had used the Omega key to open the door. A beam of green light had immediately appeared inside. Then the door had shot out several bullet-like objects. One of them hit Lucas. Everyone was scared and quickly closed the door. At first, Lucas seemed to be fine, but not long after, Lucas became crazy. He forced his other friends to hand over the key. In fact, at that time, Lucas had been possessed by the demon Dodge. Lucas saw that his friends were not cooperating with him, so he had directly killed 2 people. Rendell had no choice but to kill Lucas himself. These things happened to be seen by Duncan. They could only use the key to erase Duncan's memory. Afterwards, they faked an accident while exploring the cave, causing 3 people to drown and die. They also threw the corpses into the sea to ensure that they would not be discovered. In order to prevent such a thing from happening again, everyone promised each other not to use the keys anymore. They also separated the keys for safekeeping. Ellie received the identification key and the echo key. The identification key can transform into the appearance of anyone, and the echo key can revive the dead. After that, time passed, but Ellie still could not forget Lucas in her heart. In the end, she broke the agreement. Ellie used the echo key to open the door of the Skylight House. She revived the long-dead Lucas, but she never expected that the one who revived was not Lucas, but the devil Dodge, who had taken over Lucas's body. Ellie also gave him the identification key, but fortunately, the revived person could not leave the atrium house, so Dodge had always been unable to go out to do bad things. So when Dodge tricked Bode into giving her the key to everywhere, then she continued to do bad things and harm people. Because Ellie had no way to kill Dodge now, she could only find a way to seal her into the Skylight House. At this moment, Bode suddenly took out a key. Ellie immediately recognized it as the Key of Darkness. The person who wore the Crown of Darkness could create a powerful darkness. They could control the darkness to bring Dodge back to the Skylight House. But the Crown of Darkness was at Ellie's house. Ellie excitedly took the key and ran home. Unexpectedly, she met Dodge, who had been waiting for a long time. She didn't spend much effort to get the key from Ellie. The Crown of Darkness was also completely patched up by Dodge. This time, no one could stop her anymore. After that, Dodge restored his original form and went to the key house. Bode, Kinsey, and Tyler were scared and stunned on the spot. They quickly used shelves to block it, but it couldn't stop the darkness at all. The darkness that seeped into the house immediately turned into a physical entity. It started searching for the Omega key in the house. Bode found that if the light was turned on, the darkness would disappear. Bode was quick-witted enough to tie the key to a neon light. Then he went to Dodge's darkness to provoke her. Unexpectedly, the darkness could not withstand the power of the light stick. Bode only stabbed the light stick into the darkness, and it was gone. Finally, they found Dodge unconscious in the hall. Tyler wanted to take Dodge back to the atrium house, but the echo key was still in Ellie's hand. Kinsey suggested locking Dodge inside the dark door. Then they called their classmates for help. Everyone followed the plan and went to the dark door. Then Kinsey used the key to open the door. Very quickly, another bullet was fired. Kinsey and Tyler hurriedly threw Dodge inside the door. Everyone saw Dodge gradually being swallowed up before closing the door with peace of mind. Everything seemed to be over. The only regret was that Ellie had mysteriously disappeared since that night. But was that really true? Time went back 12 hours. Dodge used the identification key to transform Ellie into her own appearance. When Bode's group was still fighting in the house, Dodge dragged Ellie downstairs. Dodge changed her face to Gap. Her purpose was to coax them to open the dark door. When the door opened, a light bullet hit them. As a result, one of the girls was actually shot, so Dodge already had a human counterpart. Dodge and the girl who had just been shot decided to start a great war together. However, the Locke family knew nothing about this. They were even enjoying what the magic key brought. Kinsey used the mind key to do things that ordinary people couldn't do in her head. Tyler used this key to help his girlfriend pass tests easily. Bode liked to use the power key to lift the sofa for fun. That day, Kinsey received an invitation from her classmate to attend a movie premiere, so she brought her boyfriend to the movie premiere. Kinsey didn't know that her boyfriend at the time was a demon. He used the identity key to transform into Gap's appearance. He was waiting for the opportunity to destroy the entire Locke family. Another demon was taking over the body of her classmate Eden. She also attended the movie premiere, but the boring movie made her feel uncomfortable. She immediately went to the counter to buy something to eat, but the waiter saw that Eden had a pretty figure, so she passionately kissed the waiter in front of everyone. The waiter suddenly screamed and wanted to push Eden away. Fresh blood kept flowing from the corner of his mouth. Gap sensed something was wrong. Why had Eden been gone for so long and still not returned? Gap stood up and left the cinema, heading to the lobby to look for her. Under the reception desk, he saw Eden eating popcorn next to the corpse of the waiter. Gap quickly reminded Eden to stand up. The movie was about to end, so they needed to quickly dispose of the corpse. Eden immediately stood up. The two of them dragged the corpse away together, and this scene was coincidentally caught by Nina. She saw with her own eyes the two of them dragging the body inside the door. But when Nina opened the door, inside was the second entrance to the cinema. Nina suddenly stood still. At this moment, Gap walked out of the men's restroom next door. He went up to greet Nina. Nina fearfully described what she had just seen, but she couldn't explain why Gap came out of the restroom. He smiled triumphantly when he saw it. At this moment, Kinsey came out and blamed Gap for not watching the ending of the movie with her. Then Kinsey dragged him to the celebration party, in a place where no one was around. Gap grabbed Eden's neck and warned her to restrain herself. Gap warned Eden not to ruin his plan, otherwise he would kill her. Then Gap came to Kinsey again and said that he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go home first. In fact, he was going back to his residence to prepare to make a devil key. The evil key that can control humanity becomes Gap's subordinate. When Gap had a strong team, he would have the confidence to steal other keys. At this time, on the other side, Tyler came to find Kinsey. Tyler told her that his girlfriend's memory was disappearing. It turned out that after people grow up, they would forget everything related to the magic key. Even if that person had just used the key, they would immediately forget what happened. There were only 3 months left until Tyler's girlfriend turns 18. Tyler was afraid she would forget about magic, just like his mother did. Moreover, he and Kinsey were also about to come of age. The two of them thought of the previous guardians of the key. Why didn't they forget the memories related to the magic key? Tyler and Kinsey decided to ask Erin. Even though she was suffering from Alzheimer's now, she was their only hope. Gap had come to meet a background actor. He inserted the key into the other person's body. The other man quickly turned into a puddle of black water right in front of them. This showed that Gap had failed to forge the key. Moreover, he now only had enough materials left to make one key. Gap absolutely could not afford to make a mistake, so he took the opportunity of the date to discover the method of forging the key from Kinsey. But Kinsey had only been in contact with Key for a few months. Moreover, the father Rendell had not told his 3 children anything before he died. Therefore, the Locke family did not know about this hidden secret. So the next day, Gap came to Bode's house with a big bag of snacks. Bode was very happy to see that. The boy immediately invited Gap into the house to sit. When he realized that Bode was the only one in the house, corners of rock, his mouth couldn't help but curl up because he had figured out how to find out the method of forging the key. Bode and Gap saw the broken bowl and happily waved their hands and feet. Bode then put the broken pieces into the drawer. When the boy opened it, the broken bowl was restored to its original state. This was also the reason why Bode did not hesitate to destroy things. After the boy had returned the bowl to its original place, Gap said that he was tired of playing and wanted to go home. Bode of course had not played enough. The boy suggested playing with other magic keys. Gap heard this and secretly rejoiced in his heart. He took the opportunity to say that he wanted to try the soul key. Bode gave him the key without any defense. Gap smiled again, not easily recognizable. Then he used the key to open the door. The moment he stepped outside the house, his body and soul immediately separated. Gap had achieved his goal. He flew straight to the Locke cemetery without hesitation. Gap met one of the ancestors. Gap said that he was Kinsey's boyfriend. He then immediately asked about procedure for forging the magic key. He used the excuse of preparing to give Kinsey the key he had forged himself on her birthday. Chamberlain Locke did not seem to have any doubts. He said that when forging, one must always think about the use of the key. During the entire process, the forger could not relax at all. The most important thing was that the forger had to drop a drop of his own blood into it. Only then could he forge the magic key. After knowing how to forge the key, Gap quickly returned to his body. He immediately prepared to forge the key. After Gap dropped a drop of fresh blood into the mold, he and Eden nervously waited for the key to take shape. But the forge suddenly exploded, causing the entire house to collapse. Because both of them were demons, they were not injured. However, this made Gap angry. He did not understand why Chamberlain Locke had deceived him. Gap went to the key house and borrowed the soul key from Bode. This time, before Gap could say anything, Chamberlain Locke already knew the purpose of his visit. He also said that he had deliberately deceived Gap. It turned out that he had immediately recognized Gap's identity as a demon, because there would be parasites on the back of demons, and only people in the Locke family could forge keys. Although Gap was very angry, he could do nothing. He could only leave and find another way. Kinsey didn't know anything about this at the time. She was going to the mental hospital with Tyler. They were trying to find a way for adults to remember magic on Erin's body. Kinsey put the mind key into Erin's neck. Erin's mind door appeared immediately. The two of them entered without hesitation. What they didn't expect was that Erin's soul was actually here, which is why she had Alzheimer's. After Kinsey explained the situation, Erin's soul went out with Kinsey and Tyler. Now Erin was fine and had regained her sanity. They returned to the key house. Kinsey wanted to ask about keeping her memories, but Erin seriously asked them to destroy the keys because her friends had died over and over again because of the keys. She didn't want the Locke brothers to repeat the same mistake. Kinsey didn't agree, so the two of them had a conflict with each other, but they didn't expect that what happened next would be an opportunity for Erin to take the initiative to compromise. 2 days ago, Bode was at home when he suddenly heard the sound of a key whispering. He followed the sound and went to the study. The key was found in the telescope, but he still couldn't find the corresponding keyhole. Until the next day, when Bode went to Jamie's house to play, he discovered that there was a room in his friend's house that contained keys. Bode heard that Jamie's father liked to collect keys. Bode immediately tried to insert key. Unexpectedly, the key house immediately lit up. Bode opened the roof and found that the interior structure was exactly the same as his own house. He could even see Tyler lying on the bed. Bode wanted to test his guess. He asked Jamie to put a marshmallow into the model. Then he felt a cold wind blowing from behind. Bode turned his head and saw that a marshmallow really appeared right in front of him. He took a light bite. The taste of the marshmallow was the same. Nothing had changed. The two were very excited about it. But just when Bode wasn't paying attention, a spider climbed into the house. Not long after, Bode stood up to go to the bathroom, but found that the door was closed. He thought it was his older brother's prank. Bode turned around and put on the belt with the power key. When he opened the door, he found that the whole house was covered in spider webs. Bode went to look for his older brother. Tyler was also very surprised by this. The two went down the stairs. They found that the entire living room was almost covered in spider webs. Just when they didn't understand what was going on, a large 3-meter-long spider suddenly appeared behind them. Bode and Tyler were scared and ran away. They also dragged Erin, who didn't understand what was going on, to follow. Erin shouted that everything was because of the small world key. Before she could finish speaking, the spider rushed in from another window. The four people panicked and threw things at it. Bode took the opportunity to lift the table to temporarily block the spider's attack, but that didn't last long. The four were quickly barricaded in the storage room. Bode quickly called Jamie. He told her to kill the spider in the model house. Then a pencil fell from the sky and stabbed the spider to death. This removed the fear for their lives. Bode finally told them what had happened. Fortunately, the crisis was resolved without anyone getting hurt. Tyler didn't blame his younger brother. However, Duncan just wanted to continue asking about what had just happened. Suddenly, the scene before his eyes blurred. Duncan forgot everything that had just happened. Erin wanted to ask him if he still remembered the model house. Unexpectedly, Duncan became angry because of the disturbance in his memory. Duncan shouted and told Erin not to act like she knew him. After saying that, he turned and left. This made Erin angry. She turned around and asked Tyler and Kinsey to borrow the key. She wanted to restore Duncan's lost memories. So Kinsey took out Duncan's memory bottle. She and Tyler had planned this for a long time. They just didn't know how to do it. Then the three of them went to Duncan. First, they inserted the mind key into him. Then they opened the bottle to let the memories return to his mind. Next, they followed Erin's method. Duncan also regained his desired memory. Just as everyone was immersed in joy, Kinsey suddenly ran into the room and told them some shocking news. Gap was Dodge. Eden was the devil. Everyone didn't believe it, but Kinsey said she saw Eden's memories. Apparently, they threw Dodge into the dark door, but that person wasn't Dodge. If that person wasn't Dodge, then who was it? 2 days ago, when Kinsey had gone into Gap's room, she had accidentally seen Gap and Eden together. The two of them had been stuttering and babbling. This obviously made Kinsey suspicious. The next day, Gap came to Kinsey's house to explain what happened last night. He said that Eden was really bad at math, so Gap only helped her with some math problems. Otherwise, she would be at risk of being expelled at any time. Gap actively explained, and Kinsey finally believed him. Gap thought that the matter would end there. Unexpectedly, at the party the next day, Kinsey discovered that Gap and Eden were both lying. To find out the truth, Kinsey went to Scott and said that she would use the mind key on Eden, so she hoped Scott could help. Then Kinsey got Eden drunk and took her to an empty room. When Eden fell asleep, Kinsey immediately stuffed the key around her neck. Eden's spirit body and the mind door appeared immediately. Kinsey opened the box and entered Eden's mind without hesitation. The arrangement inside was like a high-end shopping mall. Kinsey did not hesitate and immediately began searching for memories of Eden and Gap. At this time, outside the room, there were also classmates who wanted to enter. Scott immediately ran to block the door. Although Scott had stopped his friend, he was very worried. If someone else wanted to enter, how could Scott stop them? He hurriedly entered the room to inform Kinsey, but he found 2 Edens lying in there. Scott immediately realized that something was going on, so he went into Eden's mind to find Kinsey. Kinsey showed Scott Eden's memories. When they opened the dark door, the devil possessed Eden, and the truth was that Gap was Dodge. Kinsey was both shocked and angry. Kinsey. The boyfriend she had been dating for a few months was actually the terrifying demon Dodge. At this time, the emotions in Eden's head sensed danger and flocked to the two of them. The two used the fire key to break the siege. They finally escaped. After knowing the truth, Kinsey decided to fight back. She went home and told everyone about this. Everyone immediately prepared to set a trap to kill Gap. Kinsey called Gap. She told him that Duncan had regained his memory and asked him to come celebrate together. Gap was very happy when he heard this. He was so mad about key casting. Duncan had regained his memory, so he would definitely know how to make the key. So Gap left the echo key for himself. He used another key to go to Bode's house. Gap was taken upstairs, and Eden was led to the kitchen. The first step of the exorcism plan officially began. Bode picked up a grape, wanting to show Eden a magic trick. He put the grape in the cup on the left and kept shaking it around. Then he asked Eden to guess where the grape was. She pointed straight at the cup in the middle. Eden guessed wrong. At this moment, a cup from above turned upside down, trapping Eden inside. It turned out that this was Bode's plan. He performed a magic trick to attract Eden's attention. Then Jamie would trap Eden inside the key house model. At this time, Eden also realized that she had been tricked. She was banging on the side of the cup frantically. Tyler had to admit that Bode was too good. After all, this was the first time he had seen a model house that could deal with a demon. Tyler quickly went upstairs to check on the others. Only Bode remained to guard Eden. Eden had no intention of sitting still and waiting to die. She kept hitting the side of the cup with all her might. At first, Bode ignored it, but when a crack appeared, things seemed to have gone beyond expectations. At this point, something worse happened. Jamie's father walked into the room. He saw his daughter reaching into the old house, so he scolded her. She was forced to put the cup away. Eden had now become a hunter, chasing Bode. Kinsey and Tyler upstairs were not doing well either. They had suppressed Gap at the beginning, but unexpectedly, he suddenly took out the key to the chain. Even if Tyler had the key to power, he would not be able to fight him. Gap eventually captured Duncan and Bode and used the keys to get them everywhere to escape. Eden was kicked out the door by him as trash, abandoned. Eden had no choice but to escape on her own. In her panic, she dropped her coat. Kinsey pulled out a pile of order forms from the jacket pocket. From there, they knew the location of Eden and Gap's base. Unfortunately, Gap used Bode to threaten Duncan. He threatened Duncan to successfully forge the devil key. The materials had to be provided by Duncan. Then Gap captured a classmate to do the experiment. The experiment was successful. The classmate became the devil's servant. Gap was happy, so he released Duncan and Bode. The two escaped and coincidentally met Tyler and Kinsey, but now they were not strong enough to fight Gap because, after only one day, the number of Gap's subordinates had increased to more than 10 people. Kinsey could only find someone else to help. She told her friends about this, but they still couldn't stand it and were suppressed by the devil's subordinates. Finally, Kinsey was brought before Gap. It turned out that he loved Kinsey. He hoped that she could voluntarily join his team. If Kinsey didn't agree, Gap would be forced to use the devil key. Bode saw this scene. He quickly ran out to ring the alarm, causing chaos and rescuing his older sister. But on the other side, Tyler found out that his girlfriend had been controlled. He was heartbroken to see the girl he loved turn into a demon. Tyler rushed home. He wanted to create a key to turn his girlfriend back into a human. He finally found the only remaining material in his father's hat. With Duncan's help, Tyler forged the alpha key. At the same time, the Locke ancestors also came to help. They told Kinsey where the key was best hidden. Because the soul key was lost, Kinsey could not communicate directly with her ancestors. She hoped that they could give her more detailed instructions. As soon as she finished speaking, countless birds flew out of the forest behind them. They landed on a small wooden house. Thanks to the ancestors' guidance, Kinsey found the wing key, and this key would be extremely important in the next battle. Before leaving, Kinsey shouted to the sky to thank her ancestors. They silently encouraged their descendants from above. At the same time, Tyler also created the alpha key. He confidently followed his girlfriend. Finally, Tyler stopped her in a small forest. Tyler pretended to surrender and expressed his desire to join the demons. He secretly stabbed the key while his girlfriend was distracted. She screamed in pain and then knelt on the ground. It turned out that the alpha key had been successfully cast. But if Tyler killed the demon, he would also kill the person it possessed. Tyler was so angry that he wanted to take the alpha key and kill Gap, but he had too many subordinates. Tyler would definitely fall into a trap if he rushed out like that. Kinsey told her older brother not to act hastily because she had already planned everything. Gap, on the other side, was also not idle. He had used the devil key to control many people. He ordered some people to find and kill Eden. The rest went to the key house and killed everyone except Kinsey. Coincidentally, Kinsey was right at the door at this time. Gap thought she wanted to join his team, but he didn't know that Kinsey was just stalling for time. She did this so that Tyler's group could sneak into the mansion and steal the devil key. Kinsey had a very hot temper. She said bluntly that she would never cooperate with with Gap. Then Kinsey stood on a high platform and jumped down, but she didn't leave this world. While Gap was still wondering what was happening, his men discovered that Tyler had sneaked inside. Gap quickly took out the dark crown to counterattack. Unexpectedly, suddenly turned around and snatched it away. Tyler's group also went to where the devil key was hidden. Duncan took out the fire key to break the door. The two of them held the alpha key and the power key and started the battle with the demons. But there were too many demons. Gap also returned to his original form, which was Dodge. At the crucial moment, Duncan shouted to stop. Unexpectedly, the demons actually stopped. Duncan stood there for a moment. He realized that the demon key was created by himself and it contained Duncan's blood. It turned out that Duncan was the only one who could control it. While the demons were blocking Dodge, Duncan also opened the safe and successfully took the dev key. Dodge was furious. She pulled out the branch key and destroyed the mansion. Fortunately, Tyler's group quickly escaped, but Kinsey suddenly returned to have a decisive battle with Dodge. But before the battle even started, Kinsey was tied up by Dodge with the chain key. This scene was truly shameful. Tyler saw that Kinsey was about to be killed, so he stabbed Dodge with the alpha key from behind. At the last moment before the mansion collapsed, Tyler and Kinsey used the wing key to fly out. But not long after, a figure crawled out of the rubble. It turned out to be Lucas. He had been revived by the echo key. Now he was no longer haunted by demons. Bode was about to confess everything to his mother, and he used the memory key to awaken the things his mother had forgotten. Tyler planned to travel alone for a while after his girlfriend died. Except for the key to everywhere and the echo key, he returned all the keys he had used, and these two keys happened to be in Eden's hands. Remember when Gap sent someone to kill Eden? Not only did they not kill Eden, but they also let the key to everywhere fall into her hands. The echo key that was hidden in the base was also stolen by Eden. Eden always had two keys in her hand. Of course, she wouldn't sit still and wait to die. That night she went to the well and immediately revived a demon. This demon was the captain who died 300 years ago. After he heard Eden talk about this world, the demon threw Eden down the well and left with the key that led to everywhere. Today's movie ends here. See you again in the next videos.